Hi, and welcome to another edition of Studio 411. I'm Larry DeSilva, your host. A little down and out today, but I've got my herbal tea to get me through this. And also, we've got a gentleman who hopefully will make me feel better, or by the end of the show, I may be laying on the desk, so we'll see what happens there. We've got a gentleman who has written a book that's, I guess, kind of a self-help book or self-realization, positive thinking, movement type book. A gentleman named David Essel, and he is a #1 best-selling author. Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life was one of his bestsellers, and he has written a book, his 10th motivational book, called Focus, Drop the Laws of Attraction and Slay Your Goals, the proven guide to huge success, a powerful attitude, and profound love. So I am already way in over my head, but we welcome to the show David Essel. David, thank you for making time. How are you?
Oh, Larry, great to be with you, and I'm looking forward to this. We're going to have a blast today, and by the end of our work, you will be fully healed.
Oh boy, okay.
So just.
Fully, did he say fully sealed or fully healed? I don't know. Now tell me, I always ask this of authors. Now, in your case, maybe it doesn't apply, but what was the inspiration for writing this book? Because you've written 9 others, and one of them in particular this is almost maybe a partial sequel to one of them, but overall, what was the inspiration for writing this book?
Well, this is the sequel to our other #1 best-selling book that you mentioned, Larry, Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, but this book will. When that book came out, everyone who works with me, all 10 of us got together and we agreed that that title of the book, Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, is either going to put me behind the counter of a convenience store or it's going to emblazon my career. And of course, obviously, thank God, the second one happened. And it really took the country by storm. And then we had to come up with a follow-up book, which is the one you mentioned, Focus, Slay Your Goals, where we take the thoughts in how to become more successful in life and what is really the truth behind the reality of success. And we created a program, Larry, where we help people do step-by-step work to go from where they are right now with their attitude, their money, their weight, addiction, relationships, etc., to where they want to be. So Focus is the follow-up, and it already hit #1 itself. So we're very, very blessed and happy with that.
Now, you may have already touched a little on it, but in your mind going into the project, how did you want to make this book stand out from other success books or positive thinking books that have been out there, and besides ones that you've done, others?
Yeah. Well, we don't, believe it or not, even though with the title of our first #1 bestseller, Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, we are huge in the world of positive thinking. But what separates our books from so many of them out there is, if you remember around 2007 or so, the book The Secret came out. And then the law of attraction was talked about all the time. And basically what these books are saying is, as long as you think correctly, whatever you put out into the universe must respond in kind. So the examples they gave in the book The Secret was that if you want a red Maserati, and if you just think hard enough about it, one will pop into your driveway. And if you want to become a millionaire, and they have a story in The Secret about how this guy was homeless and he started thinking positively and imagining checks coming in the mail, that they must come in the mail because you're thinking these things. So we took a different approach, a totally different approach, and we said this: 20% of your major success in life will come from how you think and what you think and the way you think. But 80% will have nothing to do with your thoughts. In other words, and this is the truth, if you want to make more money or lose weight or get sober, you can have a crap attitude. You can believe you're never going to accomplish it, but if you do the work necessary, you will be successful. So even though we think having a positive attitude is the answer to everything, it really isn't. Of course, it makes life more enjoyable. We're a huge fan of positive thinking. I spend the first hour of every day, Larry, with my journaling, gratitude, meditation, prayer, affirmations. But then after that, we let it go and we go do the work to create the success we want. So where most books are saying 80% of your success comes from how you think, We're saying the opposite. 20% of your success comes from how you think, and 80% comes from us doing work on a daily basis, Larry, that we would rather not do.
There we go. David Essel, the book Focus, Slay Your Goals. I neglected to mention his website for more information, www.talkdavid.com. All right. Now, I'm almost afraid to say we'll use a guy like me, but I don't. That could open up a whole can of worms. But again, an average Joe. The only checks I get are the ones for refinancing. So again, obviously those are the old gag about I won the Irish sweepstakes, honey. Well, when did you buy a ticket to the Irish sweepstakes? So obviously those are the kind of things that I'm more used to, okay? What do you think? Obviously it varies, demographics, whatever, but what do you think holds people back from realizing their goals? I mean, there's so many different things that it could be. I don't know. I'm a believer that sometimes we can try to better our parents or our grandparents, but I just think sometimes people just seem to be in their DNA just cut out for the same kind of mediocrity. Well, not that there's anything wrong with mediocrity, but they just don't seem to like move up the ladder, as they say.
Well, I believe the answer here is that the individuals that are accomplishing huge goals in life are doing what 90% of the population would never do. In our book, Focus, Slay Your Goals, we talk about Evelyn Keeling, how she lost 240 pounds. Now, imagine this. Imagine, all of our viewers right now adding 240 pounds to your current weight. What would that feel like? She was obese, obviously. And then the greatest thing that we tell about her in the book is that not only did she lose 240 pounds, Larry, but in her 40s, late 40s, early 50s, she walked on stage in Las Vegas, Nevada, in front of 15,000 screaming fans as a bodybuilder. So here she was in her 50s. In her 40s, she lost 240 pounds. She got so excited about the changes, she decided to go for it, and she had 15,000 people screaming. Now, according to most statistics, 70% of the U.S. population is either overweight or obese. And we say, well, why is that? And some people would jump right on the genetic weight bandwagon and say, well, my mom and dad were overweight, so it's genetics. The University of Florida study said that 6% of people who are overweight or obese have a genetic foundation for their challenges. But that means that 94%, it has nothing to do with genetics. But the people that are struggling, Larry, don't want to do what Evelyn did. So what did Evelyn Keeling do? On the day that she made the decision to get focused, as we say in the book, and to start her process of losing weight, she cleaned out all of the junk and convenience foods out of her house. She decided to swear off going to fast food restaurants ever again. She did the hard work. And then imagine this. Imagine being 240 pounds overweight, and you have to be wheeled into a health club in a wheelchair because your legs can't support you. Imagine the embarrassment of being 240 pounds overweight and being pushed into a health club to stand up on a treadmill to support yourself with the handlebars to start to lose weight. And we say this throughout all the examples we give in the book, and I've got one I'll share in a minute about money. Larry, anyone that wants to shatter mediocrity and go up the ladder of health, money, relationships, sobriety, whatever it is, there's nothing holding us back other than our lack of willingness of doing the uncomfortable steps on a daily basis. I mean, it's almost so simple, but we have ingrained in ourselves, in our mind, that life should be easier than it is. I don't want to get uncomfortable. I don't want to get up at 4 a.m. and go to the gym because that's the only time I have. I don't want to give up my drinking on weekends because that's how I relax, even though it gets us in arguments with our spouses. So what we say in the book, Focus, Slay Your Goals, is when you get focused and you follow the steps of doing what you'd rather not do 6 days a week, within 6 months, your life could be radically changed. And that's the greatest news that we give with our motivational book that doesn't believe in the power of affirmations to change your life, but we believe in the power of action to change your life.
I was going to say, something you said a couple of minutes ago reminded me of two things. One is that if you're a person that never does anything different, never tries anything different, you're not going anywhere. If, like you said, you use the word action, my thought was, try something new. Eat something different. Maybe watch a movie that is a genre that you are not usually a fan of. In other words, reach out to different things. Obviously, a little more important than movie or the type of hot dog or burger you're going to eat is, in other words, get yourself to where you are exposing yourself to more situations, and I think
Yes.
that will get you obviously on the road you're talking about. Another one too that you made me think of was talking about sociological things with people over the years, whatever, is I always use the example of retired general, I believe former Secretary of State Colin Powell. Here's a gentleman that, for those who don't know, grew up probably in the 40s, early 50s, whatever, in Harlem. Okay, Harlem was not like the up and coming like Brooklyn and some of the other boroughs in New York. It was not the best place to grow up, just like maybe in Mississippi or in the Watts section of Los Angeles, California. But again, people say, well, how did he get out of there? Or how did, Cesar Chavez, wherever he was born? We tend to generalize in terms of maybe minorities as opposed to more middle-class white suburbia. My question to you was then, again, using a General Powell, not that you know his history, but how did then he or other people who came from impoverished situations, what was it in their makeup or their desire, you think, to become the success stories that they became?
Well, let's be really honest and realistic first. The percentage of people that come out of the slums and that come out of poverty that become successful like him is outrageously small. And the reason why is because of something we call mass consciousness, Larry, and that is this. We pretty much stay with the genre of people that we hang out with. That's about our limit of growth. So if someone's trying to lose weight and all your friends are overweight, guess what? You've got to find some new friends. If you're trying to change your financial situation and you're always around the same kind of people that also are struggling with money, you've got to change not just your beliefs, but who you hang out with. When you come from poverty, and there's so many incredible athletes, right, over the years that have come from incredible poverty, there has to be a turning point in their life where they look at their father who's imprisoned or their brother who's imprisoned or a brother that's in a gang. There's got to come a point where they make a conscious decision, Larry, that I am not going to repeat the family cycle. Now, if we make that decision, you can make the decision at any time. It doesn't have to be 18 or 16 or 15. It can be 70. You make a decision that you're going to break the cycle that you were born into. You're going to break the cycle that your mom and dad had with alcoholism. You're going to break the cycle with, it's a conscious decision. Of all the super successful people that I've interviewed over the years that came from very struggling backgrounds, I've never had any one of them say to me that, I don't know how it happened. I just didn't do what my family did. I just didn't drink or I didn't do drugs. Almost all of them say, I saw the insanity around me and I made a decision I'll never be a part of that. Now, here's the cool news. That's called a choice. That's not a genetic gift. That's called a choice. So for all of our listeners right now, if you're tired of the body, the addiction, the lack of money, the insane relationships that you're staying in, you can make that choice. You can just decide to get up and go, all right, I'm going to do some things today that scare the heck out of me. I'm going to go and ask someone for help regarding my finances or my addiction or my weight. I'm going to get uncomfortable because that's where successful people live. They live in that world of always stretching themselves and doing what most people, Larry, would never want to do. And that is they get up earlier or they stay up later or they don't go to stores that have things on sale that they don't need, and waste money. Like they do things that are uncomfortable. Throughout the whole book, we probably have 100 stories of people that have walked the uncomfortable path to create great success. It's a choice.
David Essel joining us for the hour here on Studio 411. A quote from one of his good buddies, Jenny McCarthy, actress, model, talk show hostess herself. David Essel, quote, is the new leader of the positive thinking movement. And we even have a photo of David and Jenny. Jenny is actually holding up a piece of clothing, so that protects us all from any bad things going on. But no, he has written the book Focus, Slay Your Goals, the proven guide to huge success, a powerful attitude, and a profound love. And some more information on David, #1 best-selling author of 10 books, this being number 10. Counselor, master life coach, international speaker, past radio host himself, whose mission is to positively affect 2 million people or more every day in every area of life, regardless of their current circumstances. And the website for more information is www.talkdavid.com. To digress a minute, tell me about your encounter some 20-some years ago with the famous Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and it sounded like from reading the book, tremendous influence on you. Fill the folks in if they don't know or remember the Maharishi, and spend a minute or two talking about your encounter with him.
Larry, it was probably one of the biggest turning points of my existence. And for those who aren't familiar with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, he was the founder of Transcendental Meditation. Transcendental Meditation by far is the most widely studied form of meditation in the world. Our own government has put millions of dollars to see its effectiveness against high blood pressure, recidivism rates, which means return rates to prison, that when people meditate on a daily basis, that they find that it's easier to break addictions, it's easier to stay clean from the crimes that they were committing. So in 1996, Maharishi contacted, I was hosting a radio show out of Washington, D.C. then, with Westwood One Networks, and Maharishi contacted, as his organization did, and said that they had chosen our show, David Essel Live, to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the founding of Transcendental Meditation. So he founded TM in 1956, and then in 1960, the Beatles got wind of Maharishi. They became huge fans of his, and all of them attest a lot of their success in life to following his teachings and to practice TM or Transcendental Meditation every day. So in 1996, I couldn't wait. I had this great interview with Maharishi, and we're on the air, and he's asking me about, I'm asking him about the purpose of life and the reason we're here, and he's going into all these deep esoteric answers, Larry, and half the time I'm saying, time out, Maharishi, go back and tell me that again because it's way over my head, and we were laughing, having a great time, and then we went to a break. And during the break, he said to me, so you seem to be a huge fan of positive thinking. And I said, oh, my gosh, whatever you believe you can achieve. I had that whole spiel going down. From 1980 until 1996 with this interview with Maharishi, I would travel the world telling people whatever you put out is coming back to you, so only put out good thoughts. And Maharishi says to me, does that work for you? And I said, well, does what work? He said, all this I go, yeah. And he said, give me your strongest affirmation that you say every day, and tell me the end result of your affirmation. So at that time, my strongest affirmation was, I am David Essel, a child of God, happy, healthy, and sober today. And Maharishi looked at me and he said, is that your reality? And Larry, I lied. And I said, yes, it is mine. He goes, okay, then keep doing it. It's working for you. He said, but if you find out sometime that it's not your reality, you're going to want to change those beliefs. 3 weeks later, I'm speaking in Orlando, Florida. I get off the stage, and one of his assistants, he flew her down, and he said she came in just to interview me. So when she told me she was with Maharishi, I said, what do you want? She goes, I got to interview you. He just told me to fly down here and ask you one question. What do you remember from the interview with Maharishi? And I looked at her and I said, that's all he wants to know? And she said, yeah. And I go, the only thing I can remember is that the guy was filled with so much joy, childlike joy. And she looked at me, Larry, and she said, David, I've got something very important for you, but you may not understand it. You will at some point. The reason you remember Maharishi's joy is because you don't have any.
Wow.
And Larry, I looked at her and I said, what are you talking about? I'm a best-selling author. I live on the beach. I'm right? Like, I got very defensive, and I'm doing what I love, and how could I not? And she said, I know, but trust me, at some point in life, you're going to find out that the joy you think you have isn't real, David. And with that, the interview was over. So I told her I loved Maharishi very much. I'm not sure if I loved her that much, but I did love my Maharishi still. And she left. Several more weeks later, 1996, a Tuesday afternoon at 2:30 in the afternoon, I awoken from a 4-day binge of alcohol and cocaine, which was very normal for me back then. Even doing the work I'm doing right now that I was doing then, I was an extreme addict of alcohol and cocaine. And I got up at 2:30 in the afternoon after a 4-day binge, and I looked in the mirror, and I said, oh my God, David Essel, you have no joy. And all that positive thinking about I'm a child of God and I'm sober and all is a bunch of nonsense. It's ridiculous. And as a matter of fact, David, and I kept talking to myself, what you've been teaching the world for the last 18 years that your mentors taught you is not real. You have to do more than think positive thoughts to change your life. And Larry, that was the transition from me being a motivational speaker, talking about the power of positive thinking and all that stuff, to saying, wait a second. The mind is only 20% of our success. It's people don't get sober usually by thinking they're sober. They don't earn more money by thinking they're earning more money. They actually have to do something. So we went on this huge crusade from 1996 to today, telling people, yes, be positive. Yes, read positive books. But more importantly, what do you need to do today that you don't want to do regarding money, weight loss, addiction, love? What is it that you don't want to do? Because that's the key to success. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so that's where, as you said earlier, it is a sequel, but really it's not, because in the book, I got the impression that, well, we love the book, it was a best-selling book, et cetera, but the focus or the direction that now you've taken over the years had changed, and now I understand why, because of your encounter and obviously the realization that you, and it reminds me also of another guest we had recently, a gentleman who at one point was the owner of Studio 54, same thing, drug, alcohol, binging, and then he eventually through, I believe, a clinic that he talked about when he was on the show, and he has, recovered, which again, as you I'm sure would agree, probably puts you guys in the minority, because a lot of people that are like that, especially in this day and age of opioid addiction and everything else, not to mention alcohol addiction, some folks don't make it to the other side.
No, Larry, only about 10% of people that attempt to get sober this year will get sober. 90% of people will go back out to using opiates, using alcohol, nicotine, vaping, whatever it might be. It is a difficult thing to do. But millions of people before me did it, so I knew it was possible. But let's go back to our theory. Our theory is that successful people are successful because they'll do what 90% of the rest of us will not do. So when I went to get sober, I was not excited about getting sober. I didn't want to get sober. I didn't have like a DUI or something that said I had to get sober. But when I made that decision, I had known for years that I was way out of control. When I made the decision, it was scary. It still was very scary to go to a treatment center, to come out, to live, and to be out of that cocoon of safety. And I could have any amount of alcohol or drugs I wanted to when I got out. And every day I had to do the work necessary to keep myself clean. Now we say that you can be, and we've helped people for 24 years now get sober. You can be sober for life. Once you're an alcoholic, you're not an alcoholic for life. All those old wives' tales are not true. If you're willing to do what
I think there we go. Okay, I thought we lost you for a second. Let me just reintroduce you. David Essel joining us here for the hour on Studio 411. The book Focus, Slay Your Goals, and again, continue. You were talking about the old wives' tales about alcoholics, so let me just jump in for a second. So that means in that case then, and again, I'll pick someone that is famously for coming out as far as having addictions, Dick Van Dyke, chronic, years ago, alcoholic. The old, perhaps what you're referring to, adage or wives' tale is that, well, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm an alcoholic. Even though if they haven't drank in 30 years, does that mean that they shouldn't consider themselves an alcoholic if they've reached some semblance of being cured?
That's a great question, and the answer is if someone has not drank, they're sober. So sobriety means not drinking. Recovery means that we're doing positive steps on a daily basis to stay free of the need of alcohol. If someone has cravings, Larry, let's say that they haven't drank in 25 years, but they still crave beer or wine or something, then they're not doing a good program. We believe that after 1 to 2 years of working a really strong recovery program, you can be free of alcohol for the rest of your life, no cravings, no desires whatsoever. And then I don't call myself a recovering alcoholic. I call myself David Essel. Okay. If I'm talking to you, I'll say, sure, I used to struggle with alcohol. But, I went through in 2007 when we had the second Great Depression. I lost everything. I lost all my houses. I lost everything materialistically. I had to start from scratch again. I never even thought about having a drink, Larry. It never crossed my mind as I was losing one house after another that I was going to go out and drink. That's what we want people to know, that you can get so clean that you don't even imagine that you're a recovering alcoholic or recovering opiate addict. You're just who you are. You've done the work. There's no cravings. There's no desire, and you can stay that way for the rest of your life.
David Essel joining us, best-selling author, new book, Focus, Slay Your Goals. More information on David and his other books that he has written, www.talkdavid.com. Kind of a good segue, wasn't planned, but I think it works well here. You mentioned the book about society's desire for instant gratification. Do people or people that you deal with, you find they've lost the capacity to truly focus in order to achieve a goal or better themselves?
Yeah, with instant gratification, it's like we've gotten very lazy as a society. If we look back, and I always laugh about this because I never thought I would actually admit this in my work. If we look back at our grandparents that said, how'd you get successful? Well, I got up at 5 o'clock every morning and I milked the cows and I did this and I did that. Well, they were all successful because they were doing the hard work. They were not trying to skip out on anything. But I believe, my personal opinion, Larry, is that our society has gotten incredibly lazy. We're looking for the green tea pill to burn fat instead of exercising and watching what we eat. We're looking to buy a lottery ticket instead of working 2 jobs and saving money and cutting back on expenses. I mean, we've just become extremely lazy as a society. Now, the great news is it's not all of society that's gotten lazy, just the majority of it. When we have 70% of the U.S. population overweight or obese, we've got to look in the mirror and say, but we know it's not all due to genetics, so why is it that we're trying to take that easy way out? And it's about instant gratification. And I can tell you, I am a huge part of that problem when I was drinking. At 8:01, so as a counselor and a life coach, our sessions usually end at 8 or 9 at night. We go pretty late. And whenever that last session was ended, that first bottle of wine opened because I wanted the instant gratification of relaxation immediately. I wanted it right away. I didn't want to go home and relax and meditate and pray because I did that in the morning. So let me just have a couple glasses of wine and I'll mellow out. That's that instant gratification. When we work with people with our weight loss program and we say to them, hey, listen, one of the ways that you can lose weight is to meal prep. So on Sundays, we can make all of our lunches, all of our breakfasts, everything you need to make on a Sunday so you don't have that temptation to go to the instant gratification fast food joint and get food that's going to screw up your diet. Well, for people that really want to lose the weight, it's not that difficult. You do the meal prep, you do your exercise, but for those who want to stay with that instant gratification, Larry, they'll find a way to avoid doing the work, and then all of a sudden they'll say, oh, you know, it's 1 o'clock and I haven't eaten. Let me go and treat myself to this. So the whole instant gratification of spending money and what we eat and what we drink has really thrown us off focus. And that's why we mentioned it in the book, because we want people to know that that's a choice. And the choice on the other side of the field might be a little bit more difficult to follow, but it's so worth it down the road.
And you would agree that because of the way society is now, you know, two-income households, et cetera, just to kind of, you know, live the life that, you know, people lived in 1950 or 1970, it is increasingly difficult, for instance, and whether you're a single person, a couple, then God help if you have children, then it becomes a race to get something on the table, and then people take, as far as food goes, the other things are separate. You know, they take shortcuts and okay, like a show I used to watch, the woman would say, oh, dinner's ready, and she would throw a bunch of bags on the table because why? That was the you know, drive-through window. Well, A, I don't think she was getting much exercise with the foot on the brake, and B, there you go, and the kids, you know, and then the kids are in some cases on the way to becoming morbidly obese, and the parents might already be there anyway. And again, believe me, self-admitted, as I get older, I know for a fact, and I don't have an explanation for it, is that it becomes harder and harder. You just, as you get older, to, you know, kind of keep the weight down because of the fact that your body's changing. But again, that's at least an excuse, not necessarily a valid one, but with folks who are 10 years old, 30 years old, 50 years old, before all the changes start happening, you know, it's like, wow, you know, and you look at the scale. But I know people that don't even weigh themselves because why? Because they're in denial. They don't want to even look at it because they've already kind of either given up or they just don't want to they don't want to see the number, or maybe the dial keeps spinning until it tilts. I don't know. So tell me now, what does it mean? Tell the folks, based on the book, what does it mean to be fully focused in life?
You know, fully focused means you're conscious, and so you're getting up in the morning and you have a plan that you follow through with. Fully focused means that if you say you're going to start a weight loss program, or you're going to cut back on your expenses, or you're going to cut back on drinking, or you're going to cut back on ridiculing your partner, you know, that we actually get up and do it. That's what it means to be fully focused. It's not that we have good intentions, Larry. Good intentions pave the way to hell. So we say there's got to be more than intentions. So someone who's focused, as an example, tonight, someone who's watching the show and they want to make changes, they will write out right now during the show while you and I are talking the changes they're going to do starting tomorrow. That's someone who's focused. It's going to be, if it's exercise, okay, I'm going to start walking at 7 o'clock at night. I'm going to walk around my neighborhood for an hour. I'm going to put it in writing. It might be someone else that's watching right now that says, you know, my finances are always a mess. So in our program, Financial Freedom Now, that we teach, we tell people the way to become financially free, don't worry about your income. Like, everyone thinks it's all about income. It's not. What is the key to financial freedom? It's pulling back on your expenses. The very first step to become financially free is to start writing down, Larry, every penny you spend, and next to it, is it a want or a need? So you go to the store and you pick up, you know, something that you should have brought from home. You know, you pick up a water and it's $2, and you pick up a banana and it's $1, and you pick up something else to eat and it's $3. You walk out with $6 worth of stuff from a convenience store, and then you realize for $1.50, if you had this stuff at home, you could have just saved $5. And while that may not seem like much, let's do that a couple times a day, 7 days a week, and you're going to find that you're wasting so much money. A couple that went through our Financial Freedom Now course that we talk about in the book, they came in, they were in their mid-40s, they had 3 children, they had never been able to afford a home, to buy their own home. So they took the course because they wanted to buy their home. So within the second or third week, the husband was saying, when are we going to get to how to increase our income so we can afford a home? And I said, you know what? In this course, we don't get to the income producing or how to increase your income for another 4 weeks. And he said, well, what are we going to do now? I said, we are going to work on your expenses. Now, here's the great news. At first, they didn't think they had any extra expenses that were just wants and they weren't needs. Within 8 months, Larry, through this program of watching expenses, they didn't even increase their income at all. Within 8 months, they had saved $30,000. And on the 9th month, they bought their first home. Now, as people listen and you go, $30,000 in 8 months, like, where'd that come from? They were going overboard with groceries, entertainment, with their 3 kids. They were spending money they obviously didn't have. So when they started to curtail all that, their current income became more valuable than they could ever. They didn't have to increase their income to buy a house. And these are the type of things that when people are focused, so you're watching right now, Larry and I, and you're saying, yeah, finances is my deal, then start with this exercise. As of tomorrow, write down everything you spend, and next to it was a want or a need, and do that for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, look at your list and start eliminating all of your purchases that are wants. And you will be amazed in 6 months or more how much money you've saved without ever having to increase your income. This is called living a focused life.
There you go. I'll tell you. He's making a. I can see the director's booth. They're all already like saying, "Hey, I have no money in my pockets. Now I know why." All right, David Essel joining us for the hour here on Studio 411. For more information, www.talkdavid.com. Follow up, well, not a follow-up because it's several years removed, but again, is one of his best-selling book called Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life. This one, Focus, Slay Your Goals. And again, it'll radically change the way you approach success, goal achievement, and a profound love. Now, let's spend a couple of minutes. One thing that I was interested in, the concept of focus, how as it relates to the left side and right side of the brain of people and their characteristics. Now, goal number one is you have to have a left and a right side of your brain. Now, if you've fulfilled that, and I wonder what some people I encounter during my days, but if that has been achieved and genetically you are set with that, then David will tell us a little bit about how what goes with what, because I think it's fascinating that people don't realize. They usually hear that when someone suffers like a traumatic brain injury, and then you hear about, well, this controls this, or speech, or this, but it goes deeper than that in terms of your thinking and your maybe your positives and your negatives and things that even control addictions, perhaps. So tell us about it.
Yeah, Larry, so the left and right side of the brain is crucially important when we're trying to figure out how we're going to change our life. Left brain, now people that are predominantly left brain, these are the really logical. This is the CPAs, the accountants, the bean counters, individuals that are extremely focused in life as they already are. That's the left brain people. Very logical, very disciplined usually, very determined usually, which is all great traits. But they can also get themselves in trouble. And as we say in the book, part of what we want to do is introduce the side of life that is uncomfortable. That's where success comes. If we stay in our little boxes and the left brainers never do anything creative, and the left brain people never do anything that's really outside of their comfort zone, then whatever their life is today is probably going to stay at this very level. Now, the right brainers are the opposite. These are the artsy, the creatives, the hippies, the people that really love the positive thinking movements. These are the people that are out there from the right side of the brain, outrageously creative. But a lot of times they're going to miss the determination, the perseverance, the persistence traits that comes naturally for the left brain people. So what we say to individuals is that if you want to really improve your life, look at the areas that you're comfortable with and that you're good at and keep them. Don't change them. But then for the left brainers, we say, when you get up in the morning and you spend 15 minutes reading an inspirational book, which a lot of left brainers won't do, like a left brainer, normal left brainer will get up in the morning, check their stock market, check their Facebook posts. They're on top of it already. And what we say to left brain people, this is a time to relax and to open up to some new way of waking up in the morning. So let's light a candle. Let's take some time to learn how to meditate, even with a video from YouTube. Let's do some journaling. Let's do some affirmation writing. That's for the left brainers that get up in the morning and they want to hit it hard right away. Now, the right brainers, the creative creatives, the artsy people and that, like those individuals, they're drawn to the meditation and the journaling already. They've got that down. But most of them really miss out on the disciplined approach to saving money and making money. The right-brainers are the things that, if you've heard the term starving artists, you know, a lot of artists think that they're always going to be broke. That's just a belief system. There's a lot of artists that make a lot of money. So we want to move away. But the artists that make a lot of money, Larry, they usually have picked up some of the left brain traits of determination, persistence, risk-taking, perseverance. They've picked up those traits. So we want to have more of a blended left and right brain going down. And when you do that, you're more balanced in life and you can be more focused. So just because you grew up with a CPA dad or just because you grew up with a musical mom doesn't mean that with the CPA dad you can not have a lot of joy and creativity and fun in life. You just have to teach yourself how to do it. And if you grew up in a household with musical individuals, very creative, but they always struggle with money, don't take that as, well, this is just who I am. Learn how to be some of those like left brain people that manage money really well. When you blend the right and left side of the brain, you can become more focused and more successful in life.
I'm reminded of a guy that I remember on several occasions on the Cross Bronx Expressway in New York while traveling. Of course, it was very hot, but on several occasions, a guy who must have had a lot of good things going on the left side of his brain. For about $3 to $5, and I swear I think he had a hoist system because he was on an entrance or exit ramp with a, I don't know, let's say it was Poland Spring or Fiji, whatever waters. And this guy was selling waters for anybody that was stuck in traffic, $2 a bottle. Now, and if he was smart and he got the bonus pack, then with the 28 bottles, he spent $3 to $5, and you figure on a 24 pack was generating almost $50. So, you know, people say, oh, what a poor unfortunate. He didn't have a sign asking for any handouts. He was being entrepreneurial, and I remember that always stayed with me and the people I was with, saying, you know what? That guy probably in a day will make more than you and I do, okay? So you know what? So think about that the next time you see a guy selling water, okay? Not
Larry,
so dumb.
That's a great example of marrying the left and right brain. The creative person that's down there saying, how can I make more money? Wait, it's hot, the subway. That's the right brain part of us, right? And then the left brain part of us is saying, okay, now let me buy money or water at the greatest discount and sell it at the highest amount to get a great profit. That's a great example of someone who's married the left and right brain. I love it.
The only thing you got to watch for the guy who's coming around looking for where's your sales permit license. Then you have to move to the next off ramp perhaps. But David Essel joining us here for the remainder of the hour on Studio 411. The book Focus, Slay Your Goals. And by the way, we haven't mentioned a publisher because actually David now is self-publishing, and he and I talked about that again. Just for a lot of folks, a marvelous way, cuts through a lot of clutter, and I commend them for that. And again, this and with social media and hopefully programs like this, getting the word out to everybody and doing very well, very well. Let's talk a little bit about living a life lacking focus. And I think three of the points that stood out to me in that particular section of the book. One was New Year's resolutions, which again is not something I'm into because usually you forget them or you break them within the first 30 days. Stopping and starting of projects. There's a problem that I have. And cluttering of our physical space, aka pack rat. Again, also guilty there. So, but living a life lacking focus.
Yes. So what happens is when we look at our physical space and there's a lot of papers all around, or there's clothes all around, or the garage is overly filled with boxes, whatever it might be, is that it's not just a hindrance physically for us to move around, but the mind takes this overload and it starts to shut down. So we might have stuff all over the desk, and some people will say, Larry, well, I know where everything is, and good for them if they do. And if you can be productive, super productive in that environment, great. But it's really difficult too. When there's too much stimuli going on visually, the brain starts to shut down. When you go into the garage and you go, oh, you know what, I'm going to clean it out Saturday, I'll come back and look for whatever I'm looking for. It just creates a lot of chaos. So we say to people, in the book we give a great description of what to do at home and what to do at work, but to make it really minimal and to make it really easy for people is that go through your closets just easily. We'll just take the closet as an example. Whatever clothes you haven't worn for the last 6 to 8 months, of course, seasonal clothes in the Northeast and that is different, but whatever clothes you haven't worn for 6 to 8 months, take them and box them and put them away. The next 6 months, if you don't miss them, don't even look in the box. Just take it to Goodwill or take it to a consignment shop or whatever. The less stuff you have in your closet, the more energy can move and the less your brain is cluttered. A cluttered environment always leads to a cluttered brain. So look at your office, look at your home, start to clear stuff out. Now, some people get really strong-willed when they read this book because we've gotten emails, and they'll say to us, Larry, the day after they read this chapter on clearing the clutter is that they went through and got rid of all of these clothes they haven't worn, and they got rid of all these rakes and shovels in the garage that they don't use. I mean, they're extremely proactive. And the next thing that they always write in their letter to us or in their email generally is this: I cannot believe the calmness that comes over to me when I walk into the garage. I can't believe the calmness that I'm feeling going into my closet when I've gotten rid of 20 pairs of shoes, 25 pairs of jeans, and 30 purses that I don't need. There's this amazing relief that happens and release when you get that focused and you clear the clutter out of your life.
I'll tell you, that's a tough one, but something that we all need to work on for sure. The remaining moments we have, talk a little bit about the power of writing. I notice, obviously, in the book, that well, again, you're not there to say, oh, well, definitely take a pen or pencil to it. But in other words, like so many books that I've seen others, but this one especially obviously caught my mind, is that you ask people to write down their thoughts or their actions or their faults or their positive points. Obviously, I don't think it takes a brain surgeon to realize it's like it's a book within and a journal within a book.
That's
so
right.
This way, excuse me, they can refer back to it at a moment's notice.
Yeah, when you answer the questions in the book that we ask, it does a couple things, and you put it in writing. Number one, it shows that you're more serious than a lot of people that'll just pick up a book and not write anything in it. So the conscious mind and the subconscious mind sort of get on the same team here, Larry, when we do our writing exercises, and it proves that we're serious about change. If you're going to start doing a new program tomorrow on weight loss or money management or forgiving your lover that hurt you or quit, decreasing the amount that you come down on your children, whatever your goals are, put them in writing. It makes them much more real. The odds of people following through with plans in writing are 50% greater, Larry, than people that just say, you know what, I'm going to remember this. I'll get up tomorrow and go right to the gym. When you put it down, it becomes real in the physical world, and that's step number one to radically change your life. And then the second step that we tell people to do after you've written your plan of action is to hire an accountability partner. This is crucial. What that means is hire the personal trainer, the massage therapist, the acupuncturist, the counselor, the life coach, the minister, the financial planner. Don't plan on making a major change in your life by yourself. Most of us, when we have huge goals to lose weight or make more money or get sober, we've had those goals for a number of years, but we haven't followed through with them. Hire someone, maybe you'll work with them once a month, who will hold your feet to the fire and make sure you're following through with the action plan that you wrote about to make that big change. That's called focus in life, Larry.
Tell me a little bit about, in the few minutes we've got left, you talk in the book about the one thing theory concept.
Okay, this is going to go against all other goal-setting programs that people have heard about. Again, 1996 is where this came from after my interview with Maharishi. The one thing theory states this, that at any one time in life, there's only one goal to go after. It's the one we've procrastinated on, denied, delayed, and don't want to do. When we go after that one goal, is it money? Is it sobriety? Is it weight loss? Is it saving a relationship? Is it finding a relationship? Is it changing careers? When we go after that one goal that we'd rather not do, that we'd rather procrastinate on, there is no greater way to increase our self-confidence and our self-esteem than to attack a goal we'd rather not do. You know, a really quick story. A number of years ago, a couple came to me, and they were sharing about the discord in their marriage, how they were always at each other's throats. And so I was asking them, what are the major arguments about? And right away, the husband said money. It's always about money. And I said, well, where's the problem with money? And he said, my wife is 7 years behind on doing tax returns. So we're getting penalties every year from the IRS. We're paying all this money because she refuses to sit down and do her taxes. So when I asked her if there was one area of life that you could change that would have a huge impact on every area of life, what would it be? She ashamedly looked at me and said, my husband's right. Our arguments are all about the fact that I procrastinated on doing taxes. When she did that one, now it took her 6 months with an accountant to clean up 7 years of back taxes that she hadn't done. There was the greatest change, not only in her life, but in their marriage, Larry, when she did the one thing theory, when she attacked the one goal she didn't want to attack. So whatever we're procrastinating on, when we go after that goal and get super focused, our life, even if it doesn't seem like fun in the beginning with this goal, our life will radically change at the deepest level ever.
There you go. I'm going to pause, and I can tell you right now, we'll definitely be having David back on because, again, there's a whole slew of other thoughts. So I will go to my what I call my trusty generic filler questions, and I say that again. No disrespect to David, but there's also some things on here that pertain to certain guests we have on. What's the best thing about doing what you do?
Oh, my God, I love it, Larry. I mean, you know, when you see a person in 8 weeks or 12 weeks or 20 weeks go from being, you know, like extremely addicted to alcohol or a huge procrastinator or someone that is always arguing with their partner, one of the greatest joys for me is that we get to see massive success. So every day, every hour is a different topic, and I'm totally blessed with doing this work.
There you go, huh? I'll tell you, this has been some eye-opening experience. So I'm telling you, I've got the shakes just listening to David, and hopefully the same is true of many of the viewers who've had the opportunity, like I have, to listen to his thoughts and words. David Essel, Focus, Slay Your Goals, #1 best-selling author, counselor, master life coach, international speaker, a radio host, again, whose mission in life is to positively affect 2 million or more people each day in every area of life, regardless of their current circumstances. And again, he's verified through Psychology Today as one of the top counselors and life coaches in the USA, and also is a verified relationship expert through marriage.com. That we could do a whole hour on marriage for all our phobias and all our other things in life. So again, David, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to spend a few minutes with us. And again, we're definitely you're going to be like my Dr. Ruth. You know, we're just going to anytime Letterman needed a guest, okay, let's go to the solid one right here. So again, David's website for more information, www.talkdavid.com. So you hang in there with us, and we look forward to having you back on the program.
Great. Thank you, Larry. I've loved it. I look forward to coming on back with you.
Absolutely. And we thank you for joining us here on this episode of Studio 411. Larry DeSilva's my name, cold and all, and we'll see you next time. Take care.